What if Adam and Eve were not the first human beings on planet Earth? What if God created a human race before Adam and Eve? The common Bible narrative is that Adam was the first created human being, but there are certain things in the Bible that seem to be played with ambiguity, and one of them is the account with Cain. Now, Adam and Eve, they fell. God cast them out of the Garden of Eden into the earth. Then we have the account with Cain that kills his brother Abel. God puts a mark on Cain and said, anybody that touches him, vengeance will come upon them. And Cain, very clearly in the text, is afraid. So there is a presence that was existing. There was a race or some form of entities that were existing that Cain was very clearly afraid of. Also, where did Cain get his wife? So these were questions that plagued my mind for many years. And the one day I was going over, starting from Genesis chapter 1 and just going over the creation account again, when it started to dawn on me, and I feel it was a spirit of revelation that started to illuminate my heart and give me deeper understanding into these mysteries. And I started to read the whole Genesis account, especially day 6, in a whole different light. So I'm going to share that with you today. I know it shakes our current narrative, it shakes our foundation, and it might feel uncomfortable, but what if this is true? Genesis chapter 1 verse 24, and God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Very important. God saw that it was good. Now, the famous verse 26. Then God said, now remember, this is still day 6. Let us make man. Now, Dr. Heiser goes into great length with that about let us, who he believes is the divine council, not specifically talking about the triune Godhead, your Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but the divine council, the B'nai Elohim, the ones that ruled and made decisions on behalf of the supreme Elohim, which is the Trinity. God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over livestock on all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So when I started to read this and I compared it with the account in chapter 2, where we get introduced to this being Adam, and then he goes into a sleep and God takes a rib out from him and he creates a woman. What challenged me, what puzzled me about this was that the two accounts seem very different, almost contradictory. In chapter 1 verse 27, God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female. So we see here God creating a being or a race, at the same time males and females, and they were both to rule the earth and take dominion. So when I started to see that, I realized that Adam and Eve may have not been the first human beings. So we see chapter 1, God creates humanity and they go into the earth. We don't know how long this was. We don't know how long day 6 was. And during this day 6, there were also beasts of the field that were created before humankind. The Nahash, the creature, the serpent that beguiled Eve, may have been a creature that was part of the beasts of the earth. So this opens up a whole new paradigm and understanding and insight from the Bible as to what is really happening with this UFO phenomenon, aliens, extraterrestrials. Very clearly here we see this human being that God creates, male and female. Now, many over the years have said, oh, this is talking about God first creating the spirit aspect of man, and then in Genesis 2 he creates the physical body, and some say that this male and female in Genesis 1 is the sons of God that God's creating, but it still didn't quite satisfy my interest or my desire to get a deeper meaning into the mysteries of the Genesis creation. When we start to look at it in this new light, that now remember, forget about Adam and Eve for now, just pretend Adam and Eve don't exist, okay? So Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 to 27, now specifically 27, God created man in his own image, male and female he created them. So picture this, God creates a human race, male and female at the same time, no woman coming out of man. He creates a human race, males and females, and he sends them into the earth and he says, take dominion. then something happened. Okay, we don't know what it is. The Bible doesn't give us clear indication of what it was, but something happened where God started to introduce something new, which we find in Genesis chapter 2, where he creates Adam, earthbound man. Now, I want to show you something interesting here, what I found interesting, why I felt there had to be two different accounts here, different creation accounts, is because, remember in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, God says, take dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the livestock, the animals. So the human beings were given dominion over everything, including those beings that might have had some level of superiority to mankind, but we had dominion. But then we find an account in chapter 2 where God brings the animals to this man Adam, very similar to what we see in the account with Noah, God bringing the animals to Noah. But now the question that I asked is, if God gave mankind, or Adam in this case, dominion over everything, why would God have to bring the animals to him to name? He could have just maybe whistled, come here, or I command you, come to me, because he had dominion. But we find something very different in chapter 2. God brings the animals to Adam. So we see something very different playing out here. Then secondly, more importantly, he puts Adam in a sleep and he takes a rib out of Adam, and from that rib he creates Eve. So my argument, my challenge for you to go and think about, enthusiasts, if you're watching this video like me, I want you to go and ask yourself the question, is it a possibility that male and female in Genesis 1 is not necessarily Adam and Eve, but a specific race of humankind that God created? Even more, I would say, an ultimate timeline, or a utopian timeline, if I want to put it that way. And then in chapter 2 we find something different. God starts a different project as a result of something bad that happened in this utopian timeline. Follow me very carefully. So God starts another project and he creates this Adam, this man, which I believed he created a son in his house, which would then go into the earth realm and redeem it. Now I want to show you there's a very interesting contrast that plays out here, because Paul talks about the first anthropos and the last anthropos, the first man Adam and the last man Christ, and he puts them in contrast, and he says what the first one failed to do, the last one accomplished. So we start to see an antitype here with Adam of a Christ, a redeemer. God creates this son in his house, and he sends him into the earth to humankind, to redeem humankind as a tribal head and bring them back to the house of God. We find this account also in John chapter 1. He says, Jesus, he came to the world, he came to his own, and his own did not know him. So he came into the world with a lost human race. That is exactly what we see in chapter 2. God creates Adam as God's first plan of redemption, because something happened in day 6, remember? Something happened, so God started something else and he created a redemption plan. Adam was the initial redemption plan to be sent into the earth, but Adam and Eve were beguiled by the serpent. They were cast out of the Garden of Eden. The flaming sword was put around the eastward where the tree of life was, and immediately we find from the account that Cain is afraid because he killed Abel. He was afraid for his life. So he knew that there was a presence, there was a race out there, and I would argue that it was humankind from day 6 in Genesis chapter 1, specifically verse 27. Let us create man in our image and let them have dominion. We create them male and female. We don't know how long this was going on for. We don't know how advanced their technology was at the time when Adam and Eve were cast out of the garden.